Hello, beautiful humans. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Israel Bouseman. I'm the author of Only Human, an operating manual for seekers and sensitives, and I'm the founder of Only Human Wisdom Training. So, today I wanted to share with you a little bit about astrology and about my own work as an astrologer. I met my first astrology teacher almost 30 years ago now, and I was pretty young at the time. I was interested in all things magical and everything that explored the depths beneath the surface of the world. So I encountered this teacher at the Renaissance Festival. I ran into a shop that was run by an alchemist. It was a booth filled with magical talismans. And magic was the one thing that I'd wanted to learn about. And this has been true throughout my whole life. So I asked question after question. Is it real magic? How does it work? What does this symbol mean? How did you make it? And the alchemist answered all my questions pretty patiently, even though it must have been a bit much. And some of the talismans were zodiacal in nature, so they had symbols for the zodiac signs and planets. Some of them were runic in nature, featuring the elder Futhark of the Norse, so the runes that you may be familiar with. So basically, I got an introduction to astrology, alchemy, and runes right there on the spot. And that just set me on the path. So this Renaissance festival would come around once a year, and from one year to the next, I spent the entire time paying attention to people's birthdays, observing their behavior, and making connections. And when the festival returned each year, I had another list of questions about astrology and everything magical. So I studied astrology and Greek mythology. I began working with energy in various ways, and I began working with the runes, doing small readings for myself and for friends. And this went on from when I was about 11 years old to when I was about 19, at which point I actually joined the Renaissance Festival for a little while. But that's another story. So I never actually intended to become a professional astrologer. And when I was young, I didn't think people did that anymore. But I didn't really care if others did it or if others even recognized the value in it. It's a personal passion, and that's enough, right? But in the years I spent living abroad, it was a skill that I found in high demand, and life placed me in this position. So I remember my first year in Bali, reading natal charts for some of my fellow students in the yoga teacher training course, and the teacher said, "You should do this." And seeing as I was living abroad and looking for a way to support myself, I hung up a shingle, and it all just developed from there. So that was 10 years ago now, and I've had the privilege of working with people in every corner of the world. So enough about me. For those of you who may not be familiar, astrology is about way more than just sun signs and horoscopes. It's an art that is breathtaking in its depth and complexity. And first off, every chart is as unique as a fingerprint, right? So you might say, "Oh, I'm a Sagittarius," or "Oh, I'm a Virgo." That is just the position of your sun. So you also have the moon position. You also have Mercury, Mars, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter. You have the ascendant, which is where the sun was rising when you were born. And each of these planets, or angles in the case of the ascendant, connects to a different aspect of thought and character. So the natal chart is like a snapshot of where all the planets were in the sky at the exact moment of your birth. And it offers an in-depth depiction of an individual's inner world. And just to be clear, no two charts are alike. They're as absolutely unique as a fingerprint. And the position that all the planets formed in the sky when you were born will never be repeated again in your lifetime. It might never be repeated at all because that's too many different moving parts to all come back into exactly the same configuration. So each planet is like a voice in the inner world. Each is connected to an aspect of our thought and character. Each sign, like the zodiac signs like Aries and Taurus and Gemini, each one is connected to a perspective or approach or a particular style of expression. And the third part of a chart is the 12 houses. So the 12 houses are the portions of the night sky divided into 12 equal regions, but differently than the signs based on the ascendant. So these 12 houses are taken together, they form the full range of human life, all of the different areas of human life. So here are just a few things that exploring your natal chart will do for you. So for one, it will help you to understand your inner experience as never before. It can be confusing to be a human. Sometimes we want something and we don't want it at the same time, or we want one thing and we might want another thing that seems to be mutually exclusive. So the key is that we have different voices within us, and each of these champions a different need or a different desire or a different level that we're working on in the world, you know? So looking at the chart helps us to gain clarity around these different voices and what each of them wants or how each of them would prefer to engage with the world. And this allows us to find a middle ground more effectively. It allows us to integrate all the various parts of ourselves into a smoothly functioning whole. So in understanding yourself a little bit more deeply, something beautiful happens because there's so much commonality in the human experience, even despite how absolutely unique we are. So the better that you understand yourself, the better that you're going to understand everyone else that you're ever going to encounter. And this goes really deep. The journey to understand ourselves will never be over throughout our whole lives. And the deeper we dig, the more clearly we can see everyone around us. Now, another beautiful thing about exploring astrology is that this is a map of the infinite. So it's a way of structuring all of the myriad things in existence down to a themed cycle. So it helps us to see how these things actually operate, how they unfold, how they're linked together in ways beneath the surface. So it'll offer a lot of insight and a lot of clarity around your overall journey and just about how things work in the world. So plus, I've touched upon this a little bit before, but in your chart, you can zero in on loads of specific factors. So you can look at Mercury for your thinking style, for example. You can look at the moon for your emotional nature. You can explore Mars and Venus and your ascendant and descendant to look at your relationship needs and patterns. And you can even look at preferences, compatibility, life journey bits, work styles, gifts, styles of growth and patterns of challenge, and how best to actually overcome our challenges. You can look at the elements of our shadow, so the unconscious and unintegrated elements of our being, and how we can most easily bring them back into the fold. And so it just goes way further than that, honestly. The further you dig, the more you'll find. So in addition to natal charts, which birth charts, in addition to interpreting natal charts, I also offer compatibility readings, which is where we look at two people's charts and bring them together in a couple of different ways. We can look at how they come and form one chart with the composite chart, and this describes the relationship rather than either individual. And we can also look at synastry, where we place one chart inside the other and look at how this person relates to that person relates to this person, and get a more textured understanding of their interaction. So I also look into transits, progressions, and current events. So these explore where the planets are right now and how they impact your birth chart. So it offers a window into like the current situation that you're in and how it fits in with your whole life journey. And for those who would like to explore the year ahead, I also offer solar return interpretations. So solar returns are charts that are drawn up on your birthday, and that's when the sun returns to the exact angle that it was at when you were born. And they offer a snapshot for that year, and really they can go into some uncanny detail. So if you'd like to connect with me, you can email me at info@onlyhumanwisdom.com. You can find me on Facebook, Israel Bouseman. I'm the only one. And I will leave all these comments, all of these details in the comments so you can find me more easily as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, for taking the time to watch this video. And if this resonates with you, I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks and blessings.